small coal mining community of Pea Patch, Virginia. She was born on October 8, 1943 to parents Burley Whitten and Ollie Mae Horn Day. The family moved there from Newcastle, Virginia when she was just 10 years old. The baby of her family, she spent her days like most, going to school and helping her mother with household chores and care for the family while her 5 siblings, Newton Day, Henry Jesse Day, John Day, James Jimmy Day, and Tennessee Day Reynolds, worked their family farm. In their spare moments outside of her work, she was always at her mother's side and never without a puppy at hers. To say that she loved animals was a trait that would for her be an understatement. She always had a desire to know Jesus. She had an innocent faith in him like a child, but came to know him as her Savior at 19 years old at a community church in Newcastle. In him, she soon found her identity and her calling that would bring her inevitable destiny to her path. Nancy, always attached to her mother's side, patiently stayed at her hospital bed till her last moments as her mother succumbed to colon cancer when she was 22 years old. The loss of her mother proved to be the greatest pain of her life, only rivaled by the loss of her younger brother Jimmy in a preceding Jeep accident when he was 17. Upon the dying wishes and the loss of her mother, it was seen that Nancy went to live in the town with her only sister Tennessee and her family. As she left helping care for Tennessee's 4 children, they were to be and were in the future always known as Nancy's first children. And so far as when she finally had her own kids, they were the characters in the stories of the fairy tales that she told to Faith and Joseph as they grew up. She was known to all her nieces and nephews as Nanny. There was no greater advocate for their love, well-being, and salvation when she was around. She often held Bible story hours for them and neighborhood children. It was truly a second mother to them. The salvation and well-being of the children, along with her eternal love for animals, were her passion. It was thought that Nancy would never leave her mountain home or her family. The higher calling of missions brought her to a college city in Lakeland, Florida, and the Southeastern Bible College, now known as Southeastern University, in 1969 at the age of 27. After getting settled into Lakeland, Nancy greatly struggled with homesickness and the fear that she would be disappointing her mother. But she knew that she loved her family, and she was trying so hard to learn to adjust to her new home. However, God had a plan for her life and quickly eased her fears with a visit from a heavenly messenger one night in her dorm room. The messenger quickly and clearly shared with her that yes, her mother was well pleased with her decision to follow God's call, and she never again doubted her path, and God healed her from homesickness. So her sophomore year at Southeastern, but she met a newly arrived missions major, Joseph Turnage. An older single student like herself, it wasn't long after spotting the most beautiful woman he had ever seen across the cafeteria at Southeastern, Joseph would change her life forever. After only 3 weeks of knowing her, he went to her sweetly and boldly shared with her that he would make her his bride someday. Their courtship even standing the test of distance when she ventured on a mission trip to the Bahamas to return to find him in the rain, waiting on her doorstep. There he greeted her with tears in his eyes from the happiness to see her once again. With her best college friends at her side, dressed in a variety of pastel colors, the two were married on April 14th in 1971 at a little church called Springfield Assembly of God, where Joseph would later become the associate pastor, and they would head the children's department as well. Both already mature students waited no time to start their family once married. They welcomed their daughter, Rebecca Fade, as a birthday gift to Nancy on October 12, 1973. Some may have found life hard to balance college, marriage, ministry, working 2 jobs, and a new baby. However, the two, driven by their strength in God, found the balance even if it meant trading faith off as they passed through classes. Guess what? Faith attended Southeastern before she could even speak. After graduating together in 1976, Nancy graduated with a bachelor's degree in elementary education, and Joseph a degree in missions and minor in ministry. Their life as passionate workers for the call of God would take them back to Newcastle for just a brief time in an attempt to minister there. They soon found their home was truly to be Lakeland, Florida, and returning only leaving again for the city of Springfield, Missouri twice, in hopes for Joseph to pursue continuing education and ordination. During this process of finding God's permanent home for them, they welcomed Joseph Christopher on August 2nd, 1978, while they were pastoring the small church of Sydney Assembly of God in Sydney, Florida. As their children grew, the hard road of ministry led Nancy to utilize her degree in elementary education once her children were out of toddler years. This began her 34-year career in education. Nancy went on to teach, we have figured, at least over 700 children. She was not just a teacher to her children, she was also an advocate for them. She went so far, she was also an advocate for them. As she was for so many, she was loved, so many that she loved before them. She was often found shopping, yard sales, and her own children's clothing to take clothes and things that she had heard students that were in need of. One student, after growing up, still remembered getting stuffed animals from her for Christmas. Recently, upon hearing about Nancy's illness, one student wrote to the family that Mrs. Turnage had always been her favorite teacher. Growing up poor had instilled a quantity desire in Nancy, and so Christmas stockings were often filled with knickknacks and this and that from sales, clearances, and yard sales. Not only to her family, but her school family as well. One year she got a deal on those giant stockings, and every student received one filled to the rim. The stockings were bigger than their kids. They were so excited. Nancy began her calling thinking that she was going to go to a foreign mission zone. And although not to another country, as she once thought she would, she made her classroom her mission zone, tending to the needs of her children and their families. She has grieved at funerals with her students' families and prayed with them when their hearts were in despair. She grew to be a listener of their trials when building relationships with them during conferences, and was always able to pull good test scores without all the bells and whistles of the modern computer age. Sometimes this caused her to be thought of as outdated in her later years of teaching and overlooked for her abilities as teaching, because to evolve into the technology-driven age, which we all live now, is hard. However, the impact she made on her students lived on in the individuals and their hearts that she brightened. They're reaching out recently with evidence of every bit of this. Most who she taught or worked with didn't know that she did all of this while carrying the burden of a newly diagnosed disease called fibromyalgia for 20 years. Her kids grew up knowing that Nancy didn't just have them. She actually had 4 sets of children. Her first being her nieces and nephews, then her own. Then there was the school kids, and finally her 4-footed children. Oops, let's make that 5 because she unofficially adopted Norman. He was Joseph's best friend. He is Joseph's best friend. And since his mother died and left him when he was little, she took him under her wing. Not only was Nancy an advocate for kids, but any of you that knew her knew that she also loved dogs of every kind and breed. Not only her own dogs, but also any other dog she was to discover that needed help. She was often found in the middle of the night sneaking food over the neighbor's fence feeding a dog that just wasn't getting quite enough. Not in her book, anyway. She went weekly to look after a dog. She went weekly and took dog food to a family who could no longer feed their dogs on their own so that they could keep them, and she even paid for their medical care. After retirement, she even became known as the crazy dog lady, as she gained a reputation for going around daily to some nearby woods where a deceased homeless man's dog had been left behind. Never able to catch him, she was often heard calling out, "Help!" as she nicknamed him. So he would know that she had come with his food